now before I forget. All right. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you. Got lots of new faces and names today, which is exciting. I cleaned up the calendar appointments because they were causing some problems. I'm not really sure what was happening. But really excited you're all here. You haven't been here before, it's been a while. Just this is a monthly learning collaborative that's hosted by the System of Care Advisory Council and Oregon Health Authority in support of regional systems of care. Those convened by our coordinated care organizations, community partners, and the federally recognized tribes. If you feel inclined, I encourage you to say hello in the chat, introduce yourself, name, your pronouns, and what kind of region you are representing today. And Haley, yes, thank you for your question. I did. So I sent out an email to everybody, but apparently it didn't go through, thus the calendar appointment problem. But today we are talking and soliciting all of your feedback on training and technical assistance that the System of Care Advisory Council and OHA provide to regional systems of care. So a little bit of a different topic today, but really looking forward to this conversation. We're going to talk through kind of the variety of ways that state partners are trying to support you, getting your feedback. Is that working? Do you like it? Is it not working? What should we change? So really looking for some open and honest conversation with you all today. All right, we still have a few people coming into the room. For those who I haven't met before, my name's Christy Hudson. I use she, her pronouns. I am one of 5 staff to the System of Care Advisory Council. Also joined here today by my colleague, Joylene. Joylene, do you want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. My name is Joylene Carter. I use she, her pronouns. I work at the System of Care Advisory Council as our youth and family engagement strategist. So I am here for most of the meeting today. I will have to leave at 4 o'clock to staff one of our youth groups. Apologies for that, but I'm here today to support anyone who may be in this space bringing their loved expertise. So I put my information in the chat. I'll do so again once the attendance list calms down. Feel free to reach out if you need support. Thank you.
And then also want to make space for Christiana Selby as part of the planning team. Do you want to say hello and introduce yourselves?
Hi, everybody. I'm Christiana Rhodes. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Wraparound and System of Care Coordinator with OHA. Welcome.
I'm your friendly neighborhood system of care coordinator for Tri-County, Portland metro area, Washington, Clackamas, and Multnomah. My name's Selby.
Hey, all right. Well, let's get into it, everybody. Thanks so much. I'm really excited. We've got some new folks joining us today. So, all right. I got a quick little slide deck here for you. All right. So as I said, our plan for today is to talk about the training and technical assistance that is currently offered by the System of Care Advisory Council and other system partners, namely OHA, and get your feedback. We're going to kind of lay out the variety of ways that we're trying to support you, and then kind of one by one, kind of hear how that's going. We have a survey that we're going to ask you to respond to, and then kind of based on results of that survey, hopefully we'll have time for some breakout rooms to talk a little bit about ways that we can improve the current offerings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 buckets or 6 ways, 6 strategies that we are currently trying to offer training and technical assistance. So I'll just kind of go through these one by one. talk a little bit about what it is, kind of who the intended audience is, and then some of the challenges that we've identified with each of these, or kind of questions or opportunities for improvement. So starting with orientation for new system of care coordinators. So if you have recently joined this work or have been in it for a long time, hopefully at some point when you stepped into your role as system of care coordinator, you were offered an orientation. Historically, that was offered solely by OHA. But as SOCAC has kind of become an independent body and kind of matured and grown in capacity, SOCAC has also stepped into a leadership role. So this generally looks like just an information dump on someone who's usually like pretty new to their role, may or may not know really anything about the system of care. So, we provide materials and documents. We offer to have, set up time with this new staff person. It's like usually 2 or 3 hours at minimum. It's a lot of information. But we try to, kind of provide as much as we can to a new person. And then we say, okay, good luck. We're here if you need us. Best of luck to you. So we know that that is not ideal. It's a lot of information at once. The format is not based at all in adult learning principles. And it's also a little bit unclear to SOCAC and OHA, like who's responsible for what. Most, but not all, system of care coordinators are employed by the coordinated care organization. So we're, who's responsible for doing what in terms of orientation and training. So that is the orientation. The next strategy is we hold monthly office hours. Again, this is typically reserved for local systems of care only. It's held on a Friday once a month. It's about an hour long. Really no set agenda. It's kind of informal, open Q&A, kind of whatever the coordinator brings into the space is what we talk about. I personally find this to be a really helpful and useful space just to kind of hear kind of what's going on and what the challenges are, but we know that it's not utilized by all coordinators, and a lot of folks don't make it to this office hour for probably a variety of reasons. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your feedback on that. System of Care Learning Collaborative. So that is what we are doing right now. I actually don't know the history of this. It was kind of something that had already been stood up by the time that I came into this role 2.5 years ago. But this is really always intended to be a space for anyone and everyone in the system of care. So not just for system of care coordinators, but people who are engaged on executive councils and advisory committees and practice level work groups and youth and family, and really kind of anyone who's just interested about what this work looks like and what's being done and how they can get involved. Historically, it's been monthly, second Tuesday of every month, been a variety of topics offered from collective impact to just general information sharing about specific services and supports. That being said, this isn't truly a learning collaborative. A learning collaborative is typically kind of like a cohort-based experience around a very specific topic. You come together, you kind of talk about that topic, implement interventions, revisit the topic. It's usually kind of a more focused effort. And this particular learning collaborative seems to be a little bit more of like a potpourri of kind of all things system of care. So the name here might be a little inaccurate, but it is a space that we've been providing. Again, not super well attended, although we get a lot of system of care coordinators showing up. It hasn't historically been a place where we have other places, other people joining us. So something about the content or the format seems to not be meeting the need of the intended audience. And we also know it's not often well promoted among regional systems of care. And we're kind of curious about why that is and kind of what the barriers are. We also have a grantee learning collaborative. So again, the names are pretty similar. It might be confusing. SOCAC puts out grants to regional systems of care and to the 9 federally recognized tribes. One requirement of that grant for our regional partners is to participate in a quarterly Grantee Learning Collaborative. This is required for administrators of the grant, or at least somebody who's kind of involved with that grant specifically. Usually, again, this is the system of care coordinator who attends. This biennium, we've been offering it quarterly on topics specific to grant planning or implementation, typically attended by coordinators, as I said. And although a requirement of the grant, not everybody attends. Sometimes people will say, oh, I watched the recording or whatever, but, curious about whether or not this space is helpful, if it's useful, if the topics are of interest. How is this working for those who are more directly involved in the administration of those grant dollars? Contracted technical assistance. So historically, Oregon Health Authority had contracts with the Oregon Family Support Network and Youth Era to provide technical assistance. Those ended, I think, in 2023, Christiana, help me remember. It's been a while. After that, Oregon Health Authority then executed contracts with University of Connecticut and Trauma Informed Oregon. They were also providing technical assistance, and some of you might have participated in the SRSI, the System Reform Support Instrument, or attended maybe one of the regional or online trainings that Trauma Informed Oregon offered to you all. Again, those contracts have ended. That technical assistance has ended. But those were what was being offered by the state systems. Regionally, many of you have just executed your own contracts with other facilitators for technical assistance. So we know some of you have worked with Collective Impact Forum, the System of Care Institute, the Empower Initiative, the Cornerstone Whole Healthcare Organization. I'm probably missing some, but just as an example, many of you have used either your System of Care grant funds or other grant funds to secure your own technical assistance providers, and that is all great and fine. That being said, we know or have a suspicion that the state-owned contracts that were provided through OFSN, Youth Era, UConn, and Trauma Informed Oregon weren't necessarily effective at meeting the need, and that's just based on kind of the engagement and buy-in that we saw among regional partners. Some of you got really involved, and some of you didn't participate at all. There's probably been some challenges around communicating the technical assistance that was available, and maybe some confusion about how to access that. Like, are you supposed to come through SOCAC or OHA, or can you just, contact those people directly? It wasn't necessarily clear about how you could access that if you wanted to. And while we, applaud and acknowledge the need for regional technical assistance, it also feels like having some sort of standardized approach that's available statewide would also be effective for the Oregon system of care as a whole. So really curious to hear what your thoughts are on this, and particularly for the future direction of technical assistance, given at least at the state level, we don't have any current contracts available to provide this type of assistance. And then finally, informal technical assistance, which is kind of like every other way that you can kind of get in touch with state partners and get help and support in the work that you're doing. So SOCAC staff and other state partner staff can provide support on a range of topics, at least for the System of Care Advisory Council. This is often, but not limited to, support around barriers that have been escalated to your local system. We're not always going to know the right answer, but we can commit to getting you pointed and directed to the right person, the policy person, the subject matter expert in whatever system the struggle is happening. We also post regularly on Basecamp and or share relevant information via emails. Sometimes we send out information to you all directly, to the coordinators directly via email. We also have a System of Care listserv where we send out quarterly newsletters on a variety of topics. So again, how is that information flow working for you? Is that good? Is it too much? Do you know, are you not getting those communications? How's that going? Do you know how to get technical assistance? Do you know you can just email people? What are the barriers related to that? Challenges here, again, like it's kind of unclear how these various formats are working. Is Basecamp working? Is email working? Do you feel like you can just, call us up and ask for some help? Because a lot of people don't necessarily reach out, so we don't really feel like this technical assistance is being used very often. So that's like a very brief overview. We do have a survey we're going to ask you to share, but let me pause and see if there's any questions. See, there's been a lot of chatter in the chat. Danny, was this the intro that Nat Jacobs used to provide about what system of care is? Yes, exactly. Dana Brooks, I'm not system of care coordinator, but I very much appreciated working with Christiane in open hours and a committee for wraparound. Great. Danny, I would really love to see topics that directly apply to grant use services, et cetera, in the Grantee Learning Collaborative. Awesome. Thank you, Danny. Thank you for that feedback. Selby talking about historical role of System of Care Institute. That's provided through Portland State University. And Danny, time of day is really hard. Yes, that is also a concern, right? Like dates and times and when these things happen. It's going to be probably a miracle if we can find a date and time that works for everybody. But certainly revisiting kind of when we offer these is part of the conversation for today. All right. Selby, Christiana, is there anything else to add here? Okay. So I'm going to drop a link to a survey. And we're going to give everybody a few minutes to go in there and respond to that survey, and then we'll look at the results together. Okay. All right, there's your SurveyMonkey link. Let's take maybe 10 minutes to respond. And it would be helpful once you've had a chance to complete and submit the survey, if you could just like raise your little Zoom hand. All right, Amanda, do you have a question?
No, I did the survey in data committee.
This is a different survey. We're just
It's the same survey that's opening for me.
That's
oh,
what I was just gonna say. It's showing an outcome measure survey.
So I was
you.
like, I'm gonna.
Me. Amanda's like, what is she doing? Sorry, we've been running a lot of surveys. Okay, please use that second one. And did you all find it?
Working for me.
Okay. Hi, Corinne.
Hi, I finished it.
Oh, great. Thank you.
I'm done too, Chrissy, but because I'm not a system of care coordinator, I'm worried that I'm gonna skew your your poll.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I appreciate it, that most of this assistance is directed to system of care coordinators. And I apologize for all our new folks who showed up today. We don't typically have such a diverse audience. So, but really appreciate your participation. And I think your perspectives and needs in this are really, really important. So I hope you don't feel shy to participate.
Are we raising hands when we're done?
Yeah, I asked people.
Okay. I was like, wait a
I had a
minute.
sense of how
I
much
missed something.
I did. I am showing 16 responses. So open it up here and we'll take a look at what you all just shared. All right. So overall, how would you rate the usefulness of the orientation provided to new? Oh no, here we go again. Did my screen black out on you all?
Yes, it did.
Yes.
This happened in the last meeting too. It'll come back. I hope. Okay, we back?
Much better.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so excluding the folks who are unsure, have not participated, overall looks like this orientation isn't super helpful. For those who have participated, it was rated as good, fair, or poor. Not a big surprise. Okay. How would you rate the usefulness of system of care office hours? Okay, overall, this is better. Excellent, very good, and good. One person thought it was poor. Noted. How would you rate the usefulness of the system of care learning collaborative? That's what we're doing right here. And overall, pretty good. So, a third of you thought this was very good. That's great. Good, fair, again. One person said it was poor. How would you rate the usefulness of the grantee learning collaborative? Okay, very similar. We got an excellent here. Very good, good, fair. One person thought it was poor. Okay, but overall pretty good. How would you rate the usefulness of contracted technical assistance? Okay, little less favorable here. Most people thought it was just okay. How would you rate the usefulness of informal technical assistance? Interesting spread here. Third thought it was pretty good. Few of you really love it. Few of you are less favorable. Overall, what barriers do you face in accessing system of care related training and technical assistance? So almost half said it was related to capacity and bandwidth. That's your primary challenge. Meeting times and dates don't work. 3 people said you don't know what's available, or you don't know where to go for help. Only 2 said offerings aren't relevant to you or to your local system of care. And 1 person said I don't need technical assistance. I get my needs met elsewhere. In terms of the other responses here, what are some other challenges? I'm not sure where to begin. Nuances and situations in my region feel like they would need multiple meetings to unpack and make next steps for. You all juggle a lot of different meetings, and I sometimes forget which meeting is what. Tension between CCO needs, local system of care member needs, and state needs. I generally lean into participation regardless. Barriers are not that impactful. Maybe not fully understanding the intended audience for some of them, and I'm not a system of care coordinator. Okay. Interesting. And then within the currently available resources, what would you like to prioritize for improvement? So most of you would like to talk a little bit more about improving this space, the learning collaborative and contracted technical assistance, followed by orientation, the grantee learning collaboratives, and informal assistance. Um, okay. Any reactions or questions? Carly, I see you got your hand up. Or was that a carryover? I think you can all lower
I
your hands.
don't think I have my hand up.
Oh, okay, sorry. You can all lower your hands now unless you have like a question or a response. Thanks, Haley.
I would just like to give a big ol' hug to everyone in this room, like to your needs, right? Because I just feel like some of you put a lot of effort into all of these spaces, and I appreciate you like opening it up for this feedback and stuff. But I don't know, the word poor in general is not a fun word. So I just wanted to honor that and just share that I appreciate everyone here.
Oh, thanks, Haley. Thanks, Haley. And personally, I don't take any offense. Like, I'm really curious. Like, okay, someone's disappointed about something, and I'm curious. I wanna know more. So, but I appreciate that, Haley. Thank you. We do put a lot of time and energy into these spaces for you, and we want to make sure we're making it useful for everybody, right? So that's why we're here today. Any reflections? Questions? Quiet group today. Okay,
Oh, sorry. I was
Oh.
going to say something.
go for it.
Um, I just stepped away, so literally Haley might have said this, but I did hear our appreciation, and I do appreciate all of the spaces that are being created because I think the most beneficial component of the technical assistance, the overarching technical assistance, is pulling, other system of care coordinators together so that they have a place to share experiences and ideas. I think that is the most beneficial. And then I think the thing that I don't know, I just like, it's like we've never quite figured out how, and maybe that's because it's impossible to figure out how, but just like explaining how to solve a barrier. It's like that's where I think people get stuck a lot. At least that's where we get stuck a lot, is like kind of like the constant reminder of that these barriers take a long time because they're system level barriers. It's not a math equation, like one thing doesn't just equal another and that solves this. It's like we all have really complex systems of care that are coming together to solve something huge. And I just wish that there was more of a connect the dots in like how the system of care governance structure helps you do that in a way that could be really clear for the members who attend so that they're like, okay, this works. Like I see how this works. And I think we have, at least for our region, we haven't quite figured that out yet. And I don't know how you solve it, but that's what I would like more space to discuss how to solve that.
Mm-hmm. In terms of like taking apart and taking action upon the barriers.
Mm-hmm. And like, I know that we do, obviously, in all of the ways that we work through so many different things, but it's almost like it's like that dotted line of like, this is what, this is solving this. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of the legislative concepts, like those things, and like sharing legislation has been really helpful because then people are able to see, like, okay, this is one way to solve these barriers. Like, this came out of us discussing this here. And I think that's a good way to create that dotted line.
And does that happen here in this particular space?
I think it has. I also think like, when you don't have legislation and you're thinking more on a local systems level, on how to solve something, then it becomes a little bit more gray and people have a harder time understanding how to do that. And I think like as a facilitator, having tools to support people thinking critically how to solve a complex barrier is something that I would like to create more time in this space for. Yeah, I like what you said, Selby.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from Corinne is not just how to solve a barrier problem, but how does the existence of the governance body help with that? Sylvie's had similar requests as a coordinator, how to effectively harness the power of all the people around the table. Yeah. Dana.
Yeah, I mean, being a little bit on the outside because I'm a RAP program manager. But at the same time, system of care really came to be in our county. Oh, hard to hear me. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Dana.
Yeah, so I'm a RAP program manager. I'm not system of care coordinator. But when we finally got a system of care coordinator, I'm not sure when we were supposed to, but when we got one in our county, it was, a little bit pre-pandemic and during pandemic. And so I think it's been a real steep learning curve of how to achieve those things. I'm not sure what collaboratives are going on for system of care people. I know that, and I'll just go back to like having Christiana. I never felt like in the last 5 years that we actually had technical assistance from the state about wraparound. So that's been really helpful to have open hours and some subcommittees about somebody asking us about what it is that we need, where are we going, what are we doing, what can we look at changing through the future, stuff like that. So I know it's not exactly parallel to this, but I do feel like it is a little bit because wraparound is part of system of care.
Christiana, do you have any want to respond to any of that?
I'll just say that I feel like that's kind of what we're asking in this space too, is like how can we improve? How can we be of support? So similar to kind of that ask in office hours, same thing here. So and just thanks for sharing that, Dana. That's been my goal, is just to build that relationship with folks so that we can do that. Heather?
Oh, sorry, I'm having tech issues today too. I don't know what's wrong with my computer. I think just to echo what maybe a little bit of what's already been said, I just want to hold some space for like how hard I think it is to create learning collaboratives in different spaces to hold folks from so many different regions. And also when I think about the system of care staff across the state and where we're all at individually, there's been so much turnover in the last couple of years, and I think it's really hard to curate topics that speak perfectly to folks that have been around for a long time, and then some that are more brand new. And I think if it's okay for me to speak transparently here, sometimes when I step into spaces where we have maybe more of the newer staff than we do have some of the longer standing staff, I struggle to talk about the same topic over and over and over and over again. And not because I don't want to be helpful or I don't want to help answer folks' questions or like collaborate around it, but that can be a little bit challenging sometimes, especially when, like I know others noted their capacity here. And when, I don't know if anybody's like me, but when I am strapped for capacity, I'm like, I cannot have this conversation again. Like, I love you all, but I can't do it. So that would be one thing to note. But also, while holding the secondary emotion that like it's hard to curate something perfect for everyone. So I hope that regardless of what our feedback comes to collectively here, that you still try to hold these spaces. I love that there's a variety of different types. There's some around grants, there's those open office hours where we can come and talk about any topic all together. We have these learning collaborative spaces where we can talk about topics more in depth. So I think you've done a good job of creating different spaces that go at different depths and allow more flexibility or a little structured. And I think that's kind of all we can ask for, is that, we have a variety of places where we can engage when we have the capacity and when we want to and it feels relevant. And I think it's also okay if sometimes we don't fully participate or if we have to choose and come back next month or whatever. But I really appreciate you holding these conversations where we can give some feedback around what would be helpful. Because I think hearing what others find helpful is also validating, or it like helps to spark an idea for, oh, well, Corinne said blank, we could build off of that, or Selby said blank, or whatever. So I guess those are a couple of things that jump out to me. The other one that when I was going through the survey, I kept thinking about was like, and we don't have to get into this right now, but one question I've had in my head is like, how does the state system of care pick out the contractors that are provided for technical assistance and kind of some of the projects that are rolled out? I know Youth Era and OFSN were around for a while, and that seemed to just be like a standard thing, at least when I was hired. But we've seen others like TIO and University of Connecticut. I'm just curious how those are selected and if that selection process changes in the future, or if that's being considered. But that's just a question that's out there for me.
Yeah. That's great, Heather. And I think a good segue into breakouts. I love a good breakout room. And I think just so we, there's space for more voices to kind of come into the conversation. So if I could propose moving into 3 breakout rooms and you get to choose, we'll have one room focused on system of care learning collaborative. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing because this space historically has been a learning collaborative, although not really a learning collaborative, highlighted by some of your comments around like it really needs to be like cohort based and on more specific topics and like over like a span of time. And so I think what we're hoping is that this space will morph into something else, right? And maybe it's not called a learning collaborative. Maybe it's called monthly check-in or something. Maybe it's not every month, but it's something. And that true learning collaboratives we don't have capacity to do that. That is like a big lift to do that well and to support people and to do all the planning. So thinking is that we would facilitate true learning collaboratives around topics that you all identify via contract, right? And so when I said we don't yet kind of have the next menu of technical assistance providers identified, but the hope is that, or the idea, and this is great for you to react to today, is like we need to go out and find some technical assistance providers who can actually run true learning collaboratives and do it well. So 3 breakout rooms. One, to talk about contracted technical assistance, like what that would look like, to include running true learning collaboratives, to include things like facilitated mentorship. Maybe they would deliver the orientation. I don't know what, but if you want to go talk about like contracted technical assistance, like go to that room, please, like that. And at least for SOCAC, right? We currently have contracts with Common Thread and Oregon School-Based Health Alliance. Very soon we'll be having additional conversations about what to do with those contracts, whether or not we want to extend them, expand them to make them available to all of you. Like those are conversations that we're going to be having in the next few months. And so all of your thoughts and wisdom about that will help inform kind of what the next iteration of technical assistance providers looks like. Also heard a lot of, and there's been some chatter about orientation and how we can improve orientation. So we'll have a second room for orientation if you were like, I just went through that and it was it was awful. Didn't meet my needs. I got some ideas about how to improve it, right? Like how we orientate not only new systemic care coordinators, but really anybody, right? Like you got a new chair coming into your executive committee or, whatever, like what kind of information from the state can be provided to kind of level set a shared understanding about what this work is all about. So there'll be room for that. And then a room for like learning collaborative as it currently is, but like maybe reimagined, right? If we're going to go and do like a more formal learning collaborative somewhere else, like what do you want this particular monthly space to look like? Based on the survey, seems like you kind of like it. It's going pretty well. Maybe not every topic is relevant, but there is general appreciation for this particular space. But we're eager to hear how to improve it. So does that make sense, everybody? And Christiana and Selby, I'm hoping you can help kind of host a room. Is there a room of interest, Selby? Christiana?
I'd like to go to the contracted TA.
Great. Okay.
I'm okay with either one, Christy, if you have a preference.
You want to take the learning collaborative?
Sure.
Okay. And I'll do orientation. Okay. And oh my goodness, it's already 3:50. All right, let's go into this space for like 20 minutes. Does that work?
What time? How long, Christy, did you say?
So we'll come back at 4:10.
Sounds good.